The engines of the airbase hummed like a restless beast under the gray dawn sky, their deep metallic roars echoing across the vast stretch of runway where military jets stood glistening in rows. It was a place where discipline ruled, pride burned in every chest, and weakness had no home. On that cold morning, a new recruit stepped off the black SUV that brought her from the city. A young woman in crisp uniform, her eyes hidden under aviator shades, her face calm but unreadable, her name tag read A. Rivera. She carried no bags except a small duffel and a sense of quiet purpose that unsettled even the senior cadets watching from afar. Nobody knew who she was or where she had transferred from. All they saw was a delicate frame and a new face in a place that tested even the toughest soldiers. Whispers spread fast. New girl, huh? Must be some spoiled officer's daughter. Probably won't last a week. The base was merciless to newcomers, especially women who looked too composed, too soft. And before the day would end, Rivera would face the storm she'd silently walked into. Training at the Falcon Air Base wasn't for the faint-hearted. The commanders believed in breaking you before building you again. Sweat, mud, exhaustion, those were the greetings every rookie received. But Rivera, she barely broke a sweat. Her precision in drills, her silence in pain, her perfect formation control, it didn't sit well with others. Especially not with Sergeant Blake, the unofficial leader of a small gang of arrogant trainees who believed they owned the base. Blake was tall, sharp-jawed, and full of himself, used to commanding fear rather than respect. He'd spent 3 years at the base and considered it his kingdom. When Rivera effortlessly outperformed him in the first simulation test, his ego cracked like glass. He smirked at her during lunch, whispering to his buddies, "Let's see how tough she really is when we turn up the heat." The others laughed. To them, it was all just hazing, just the usual test of dominance. But this time, they had no idea whom they were provoking. That evening, as the sun melted behind the control tower and shadows stretched across the yard, Rivera was heading to the hangar alone when she heard footsteps closing in. Blake and his 2 friends, Carter and Miles, cornered her near the wall beside the jet maintenance shed. "Hey, new girl," Blake said, blocking her way. "You move like you've been trained before. Who taught you those drills? You some kind of officer's pet?" Rivera didn't respond. Her eyes flicked from one face to another, analyzing silently. "You think you're better than us, huh?" Miles sneered, stepping closer. Rivera stayed silent, her jaw tightening just a fraction. Blake smirked, annoyed by her composure. "I said, who do you think you are?" His voice grew harsh, echoing off the walls. When she still didn't reply, Carter shoved her shoulder roughly. "She's ignoring you, bro." Rivera's hand instinctively went to steady herself, but she didn't retaliate. Instead, she whispered, "You really don't want to do this." Her calm tone only infuriated them more. Blake stepped forward, grabbed her collar, and shoved her against the cold metal wall. "What did you say?" he hissed, his face inches from hers. The sound of impact echoed through the empty lot, metal against bone. Rivera didn't fight back. For a moment, she just stood still, breathing slowly, her heartbeat steady as if she had been through worse. The guys laughed, thinking she was frozen in fear. Blake leaned closer again, whispering mockingly, "Not so tough now, huh?" That's when he noticed something. As her sleeve lifted slightly during the shove, a strange tattoo glimmered on her upper arm. A black emblem with wings wrapped around a dagger, detailed and sharp. Blake's smile faltered. "What is that?" he muttered. Rivera slowly looked him in the eye and said nothing. Carter reached out to grab her arm to see it more clearly, but in one fluid motion faster than their eyes could follow, Rivera twisted his wrist, pivoted her body, and flipped him to the ground. Miles moved in reflex, swinging at her, but she sidestepped, swept his legs, and he hit the floor gasping for air. Within seconds, the girl they had mocked was standing over them, calm, precise, untouchable. Blake staggered back, shock painted across his face. "Who the hell are you?" he demanded. Rivera slowly adjusted her sleeve back down, her voice low and even. "You just assaulted a member of the Shadow Wing Division," she said. Blake froze. The name sent chills down his spine. Everyone in the Air Force knew of Shadow Wing, an elite classified unit specializing in infiltration, counter-espionage, and air defense operations. Only the best of the best were chosen, and even senior officers feared them. They were ghosts in uniform, unseen, untouchable. And this new girl standing before him was one of them. Rivera took a step closer, her tone unwavering. You think toughness is measured by how loud you yell or how hard you shove. You're just noise, Sergeant, and noise doesn't last long here. Blake's mouth opened, but no words came out. Rivera leaned in slightly. Next time you raise your hand to someone weaker, remember this moment. With that, she turned and walked away into the twilight, leaving 3 shaken men behind, men who now understood what real strength looked like. Word spread fast across the base. By the next morning, everyone knew. Rivera, the quiet new girl, was not just any recruit. She was a decorated operative, temporarily reassigned for evaluation purposes, someone who had seen real combat. Even the commanders treated her with subtle deference. Blake and his crew avoided her completely, their arrogance crushed under the weight of humiliation. But Rivera didn't seek revenge. She went on with her routine, training harder than anyone, mentoring others who struggled, offering quiet encouragement to rookies who once looked down on her. The same men who had mocked her began to watch her with awe. In drills, she led by example, her voice calm, her actions flawless. When others failed, she didn't laugh, she helped them up. And slowly the base began to change. Weeks later, during a simulated emergency drill, the alarm blared, a mock enemy aircraft breach scenario. Rivera was assigned as squad lead. Blake, humbled but still haunted by guilt, was in her team. The pressure was high, and everyone looked to her for direction. Rivera moved with calm precision, commanding each position like a seasoned leader. When one of the jet systems malfunctioned, Blake panicked, thinking it would ruin their performance. Rivera placed a hand on his shoulder. Breathe. You know what to do. Focus. Her words weren't harsh, they were grounding. Blake followed her instructions, and the team successfully completed the mission with record timing. Later that day, when the squad assembled for debrief, the commanding officer stood before them. Impressive work, he said, looking at Rivera. You turned chaos into coordination. That's leadership. Then he turned to Blake's team. You could all learn something from her. After the session, Blake approached Rivera quietly. His tone was sincere this time. I owe you an apology for everything. Rivera didn't respond immediately. She looked at him, then simply nodded. Just make sure you don't repeat it with someone else. Her voice wasn't angry. It was kind, but firm. Blake smiled faintly. You've got my word. For the first time, respect replaced ego in his eyes. The other cadets who had once mocked her now greeted her with genuine admiration. Rivera had not only earned their respect, she had transformed the very culture of the base. The story of that night near the hangar became a quiet legend among the trainees, whispered as a lesson: never judge strength by appearance, and never mistake silence for weakness. And as the sun dipped below the airfield that evening, Rivera stood watching a jet soar into the fading orange sky. The reflection of its trail shimmered across her aviator lenses, her lips curving into the faintest smile. Somewhere in her mind, the echoes of her old missions lingered: loss, loyalty, purpose. But here, among new recruits and changing hearts, she had found something even stronger than her past: redemption through humility and example. Her tattoo, once a mark of fear, had become a symbol of inspiration. If you're watching this right now, remember, true strength doesn't shout. It stands steady when others fall, and just like Rivera, you carry your story, your scars, and your silent victories. If this story touched you, make sure to hit the subscribe button, because we have more powerful, emotional stories coming your way. Stories that remind us that courage isn't about how loud you fight, but how deeply you stand for what's right. Stay strong, and keep believing in yourself, because sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest power within.